Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, August 16th. It is now 7 p.m. Town Council, meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street for a sewer commission meeting. Ed, will you lead us in prayer? Sure will. Dear Lord, we ask that you please watch over these great United States, and in particular the great citizens of West Warwick. We ask that you please watch over this council and help them make informed decisions, wise decisions, and also always with a little bit of compassion. Amen. Amen. Angel, listen to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Council President Goslin.
Here.
Council Vice President Giroux.
Here.
Councilman Padula.
Here.
Councilman Tucker.
Here.
Councilman Kenningham.
Here.
Participating communities: Town of Coventry, Town of Situate, City of Cranston, City of Warwick, the Town of West Greenwich. We have a quorum on record. Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the June 21st, 2016 Town Council meeting acting as a sewer commission is hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution. Second.
Second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Reports, Plant Manager.
Okay, this is the report for the operations report for July of 2016. Average daily flow is 3.7 million gallons a day. We were in compliance with all of our RIPTES permit. CBOD was 3.0, leaving 98.2% removal. Total suspended solids was 2.2 and 98.9%. Our total nitrogen, which is our seasonal permit, was at 5.8, which is well under the 8.0. Phosphorus, which is a new phosphorus upgrade we did this year, we were in compliance at 0.1 milligrams per liter. Dry tons of the sludge, we processed 122.4 for the month. Collection system, we had one call for a private line, no backups in the public lines. We had 2 odor complaints, again, no facility violations. Just a couple of things I wanted to touch base on. We have G&K, we issued them a new 3-year contract just prior to this budget season, and all the employees have their new uniforms now. One big item that we've been talking about for a while is loading the trucks directly from a sludge conveyor, which I think has helped reduce odors significantly. We also have a trial with a odor control company at the Headworks, trying to eliminate a few of the odors as you drive into the facility. Submitted the underground storage compliance report to DEM, which is due, and we also submitted a notice of intent for stormwater discharge, which is a new regulation by DEM, and we're working to complete that. And then one other thing that you don't have on your report is, I just wanted to, last week we had that severe heat, Thursday, Friday, and Millstone Power over in Connecticut had some issues, so we were called, we have a contract with this company called Sea Power to curtail our power at the treatment plant to go on the generators. So we were called to do that. We went on there, ran it for about 4 hours until they called us and said that it was okay to go back on the line. But that, we got a bonus payment of roughly $1,500 plus the savings that they pay us yearly. So last year alone, we brought in this power curtailment. Most of the time, and again, the other day was very unusual. We don't usually get called, but we have to do 2 trials a year. So in the 15-16 budget year, we brought in $13,000 just by running our own generators. And just last Thursday alone, I expected to be about $5,000 for going off the grid. And that's my report.
Any questions for Bernie? Thank you, Bernie.
Industrial Pretreatment Program report.
Good evening. The industrial pretreatment for the month of July. Rhodes Technology submitted their self-monitoring report. During that report, we reviewed and found that the daily and monthly categorical limits for acetone had been violated. We asked them to, we issued them a notice of violation, and we asked them to retest them during the month of July. We will get those results at the end of this month, and we'll report on it in the following month. Rhodes Technology also has a temporary approval to discharge their sand filter waste from their cooling towers. We asked them to continue to monitor that because the levels of phosphorus were a little higher than anticipated. All the other significant industrial users were all in compliance with their monthly permits. From private wastewater treatment plants, Walmart's in the service, we checked it on their pump station. That's at the center of New England. Services, Westcott Pizza, and Hannibal's Cafe was checked for their grease trap. All those facilities were found to be in compliance. Laundromats, the Brookside Assisted Living at the center of New England showed evidence that the lint filters were not in place, and we told them that it had to be installed. We went back to inspect it during the month and found them to be in compliance. New permits were issued for the food services, just the reissuing of those permits, and a dental permit was issued for the Quaker dental facilities on Quaker Lane. That's all I have for tree treatment.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Phosphorus update status report.
As far as phosphorus, as Bernie indicated, we just completed the performance test the last week in July and the first week in August on the facility. Based on the data we received, the facility has passed the performance test. The manufacturer is in compliance with the specifications. Specifications not only had a requirement to meet a specific effluent quality, but also in a certain dollar amount. And both of those were well within the permit limit, well within the specifications. So it's at this point, we will be able to accept the facility and then move on. As Bernie indicated, the plant has met the permit ever since we turned it online in February. The permit began in April, and we've been in compliance since then. So it's working quite well with these operations. Commend the staff. This is different than what they're accustomed to using. The process in the past is a biological process. So you add nutrients, you add air, and you create this biomass, and it creates a culture, and it continues to feed and decompose. Phosphorus is entirely different. It's all chemical dependent. So you add a certain amount of chemicals to precipitate and let that phosphorus settle off. So it's an entirely new operation, and they need to understand the chemical balances that take place, and they're doing a great job of doing it. So I just like to commend the staff. So that's all I have for pre-treatment, phosphorus. I will talk about the change order when it comes up.
Thank you, Jim.
Financial update. Year-to-date operating and debt expenses for fiscal year 2017 as of July 31st is $419,790, or 5% of the annual budget. Fiscal year 2017 sewer usage collections through July 31st totaled $289,053, which is a 4.5% of the total billed and is an 11% decrease in compared to collections last fiscal year. And that's because the bills went up late this year. Fiscal year 2017 sewer assessment collections through July 31st totaled $131,272, which is 26.3% of the total billed and is a 0.1% decrease in collections as compared to the prior fiscal year. Cash and investments, through July 31st totaled $3,122,937.
Any questions for Christine?
Steve, so we should, at this time, next month, we should be caught up with what's going on later, we should be right on track with last year?
We should be, yes. The bills went out later, so now their due date instead of July 15th was August 15th, and they happen to the end of the year, into the month before the their grace period. So we should see some coming in. Finance collections is moving along.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I apologize. Resolutions. Phosphorus upgrade change order number 2. Change order number 2 to contract number 2014-18 for the phosphorus upgrade. Resolved per recommendation of the engineer and superintendent of sewers that the town manager be authorized to sign the attached change order number 2 to contract number 2014-18 phosphorus upgrade with Daniel O'Connell Sons, Inc. of Holyoke, Mass. in the amount of $19,758.78.
I'll move the resolution. Second.
Move second, discussion? Jim?
Just to give you a quick summary, as you know, throughout, you've been copied on the job minutes, and each of the job minutes have what we call change order proposals. There's small change orders that may be affected throughout the project. This change order before you encompasses change order proposals 34 through 53. And when we look and analyze these change order proposals, we break them down into 3 categories. First category is it's required by the contract, was not put in the plan to spec, and we needed to add that. The second is some items are requested by the plant personnel, plant staff, whether it's to increase or to modify the process to accommodate better access or something, ease of operation. And in some cases, as in this case, the account was not set up for the sand and the polymer additions. So in order to get the process going, we put it as a change order to the contract to buy that supply. And finally, there was a reduction in the scope of some of those kind of to balance everything out. I can go over each of the items, but just to give you a summary of changes that were required by the contractor, whether it was through missing information or requirements of the process, amounted to $10,155. Change orders requested by the town, whether it be chemical additions or modifications, amounted to $40,592. We received the credit for deleting some items that found to be, that we could do away with, was $30,988. So the net change order to this, when we do all of this balancing, was $19,758. And if I remember correctly, this project is $11 million. So, and I think change order number 1 was just due to the excess trash that we had to dispose of. And I think we're talking about less than 1% of the overall project cost as an increase. Contract is completed. We'll be wrapping up final payments through the SRF program. That's all.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Can I have a motion?
Yes.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion, minimum usage fee.
Yes, I put this on the agenda only because we've seen some emails going around, we've received some phone calls. I know the last council meeting, I brought it up as, I took it as unit meaning house, not unit meaning every unit in town. So if it's a 4-family, I would say a minimum usage. I just wanted to clarify that. Also, after speaking to Bernie, what our next steps are, whether we keep it in place for this year and rework it next budget season, or what the council's going to be. That being said, Bernie, how are you? He's given us a lot of paperwork here, a few sheets of comparisons, which we had during budget time, but
Actually, I updated this one. This is the Rhode Island cities and towns, the different treatment plants.
now, Bernie,
I'd like, maybe by starting out. And I did this at the request of the council, looked at different options. you remember correctly, 2 years ago, we looked at this in a little more detail. At first, I didn't propose that this year, at the request of the sewer subcommittee and the council. They wanted some different options, so that's how we got to this. But I think the biggest thing we gotta look at is the sewer assessments, which, again, I've only been here for a short time, but sewer assessments were always used to offset the operating budget, and we were trying to get away from that a little bit. To use that money for reserve in the event that we have a catastrophic failure. We have sewer lines in town that are 50, 60 years old, maybe older. We have a siphon that goes under the river, and if we had a failure in that, which is, and Jim's the historian here, but he can probably correct me on the age, but it's over 50 years old. If that was to fail, you're talking about anywhere from $4 to $5, $6 million to repair. It's a lot easier on the budget if we have some reserve, and that's all we're trying. And if you look at what I gave you on the sewer assessment, you can see where in 2012 it was $524,000 a year that we used to offset the budget. In the year 2020, it's going to be all the way down to $369,000, and it just continues on down. So that was the whole idea, was to try to get away from using the assessment operating budget. As far as the user fee, or the user, if you pay a debt service, and everybody pays a debt service, if you have 10 unit apartment, you pay 10 debt services. That's considered a dwelling, 10 dwelling units. And that's how it was based, and that's how we explained it. So I'm not sure if we all understood that, or if the council understood that, but that's a debt service is a dwelling unit.
So if you had a 10-unit apartment house, that debt service always was times 10?
Correct, that's been
Yes.
on the bill for years. Well, before I was here, if you had 100 units, you paid 100 debt services.
So the debt service, I understood my bill's a little different, so I actually have to look at other people's bills. But I've always understood the debt service as far as per unit. So,
Correct.
and that's always been. Well, this year is something new where it was a minimum usage charge per unit. And, I've got an email from, I don't know if it's Clyde Towers, from the Housing Authority, based upon their claims. Angelo brought it before the council, somebody that he knew. I've received a couple of phone calls from constituents about the new minimum usage per unit. So, I don't know, like a place like Royal Mills, where they always had, I haven't heard anything from them, but were they always at more usage of water than minimum? Or like now, like I said, now we got the Housing Authority saying their bills,
It's significantly went up. Yes.
30 or 60,000, I'm trying to remember. Off the top of my
It
head.
went up.
Oh, I don't know.
If I remember correctly, it went up about $16,000
16.
between the two buildings.
And so that's why I was kind of concerned, is you actually shell shock some people when they open up that sewer.
Yeah, and I'm sure we did.
Especially a month late. First it was a month late, and then they
It
still,
wasn't a month late.
well,
We had some, first of all, I wanted to make sure they were right before they went out.
Yep.
I didn't want to send out bills that were incorrect. So the company that we use for billing, I had a couple of issues and we went back and forth, and that's why they were late. But, and I've had several calls, more than several. And the only thing I can tell you is the flows fluctuate every year. Some of the people that have called 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were all over 4,000 cubic feet per unit. This year they're down, so next year they may be up.
yeah.
But that's what the council chose, so they did, so.
I understand that, Barry. I guess my big issue with this, and I've received a couple calls from folks that own the property, even though, and everyone remembers, I was opposed to the idea of the minimum usage fee, which is fine. It's neither here nor there. It's just a different way of paying for the same thing, which the council majority felt in that direction, and I kind of support that and move forward. What my big concern is that we've now imposed so much shock on certain people, and that's those people that have those multi-unit homes that may only have one person living in the home. They might only be using 1,000 cubic feet, 1,500 cubic feet, 2,000 cubic feet, and their bill has gone up so dramatically. This council, over the past 4 years, we've had to make some tough decisions to finance things in the town, but we've always tried to do it in a way where we weren't imposing a dramatic change on someone. And this issue, I just feel, is something that we need to make right. I don't think that the amount that these select few bills went up is right, and I think we need to do something to find some way to make them right.
It affected roughly 20% of the bills.
And I guess I take back then when I said select few, I thought it was fewer than that, so 20% is actually very significant. So
100%.
that's my feelings on it. I understand that there's a good argument for the fixed use and there's a good argument for just raising the rate, and that's fine, that's separate from this. My concern is the dramatic nature in which the bills went up, and that's why I want to ask the council what they think we should do, or recommendations for what you think we should do for how we make this right for this year.
I'll do whatever you want. I'm perfectly honest with you, if I was to redo it, maybe we just put a service fee to take care of administration costs. I don't know, but that affects everybody.
It's between,
And if you put a service fee on, depending what that service fee is, some of the bills might be higher. So,
you know, it's,
I mean, the only thing that's affected was people that were under 4,000, anybody over that.
it's the same dollars at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing
So-
that I had a problem with is when I got the call, just like everybody else, but it was 9 times, and I didn't, myself, I was stupid to the fact that I thought it was a 1 fee, not 10. But when you talk to other people, they go, well, why should we pay when it costs $330 to get that service in their home? Why should we pay their service when they're not paying their fair share? And it makes a point on both sides.
That's an argument, that's a strong argument, because what's happening, if you look at it, they're really, the single units, small multi-units, they will be subsidizing. If we juggle this around, they will be subsidizing, in effect, the large multi-unit apartment houses. I didn't know about the assessment fees, that it was how many units multiplied, right? I mean, if that piece of pipe, you know, costs
What it transpired is, in the ordinance, it's called equivalent dwelling unit. So everything is considered 1 unit. So when you have your debt service payment, we have about 14 or 15,000 units, single family, multifamily, and that's how this cost or the capital cost is distributed amongst all of the users. So when we presented the fixed cost, it was again by unit, because whether it's a 2-family house or 10 tenement house, it's equivalent to 10 units. You know,
Well, yeah, but you're getting paid 10 times the cost of that pipe.
it's not the
Of
pipe.
installation.
It's not the pipe. It has
You're talking about the
nothing-
assessment, or
He's
you're
talking to everyone.
Okay, all
You're
right.
talking assessments, he's talking.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
and
talking
the,
assessment.
okay, the assessment does not relate to any pipe in the ground. The assessment or the $6,000 fee that was assessed in your home 20 years ago, or whenever it was put in, that was for the pipe in the ground. These assessments to cover the capital improvements at the wastewater treatment facility. Okay, so it is divided up by the number of equivalent dwellings.
Okay, that's, okay, but, so you're not saying, from, how many years ago was it now?
Oh,
When
it-
I
it-
first
it-
moved into town, okay.
Yeah, see, and that's
At
what's
least 40
happening.
years ago.
And that's what happened. Again, if you want me to go a little revisional history.
But
then-
did we charge, I just want to make sure that I'm
Right.
speaking correctly on this. Did we charge 10 times, if it was a 10 unit and it cost?
In the past, the way this was originally set up, it was based on the value of the property.
That's before my time, so.
Yeah, just to give everybody, the assessment that goes in the pipe in the ground
Yeah.
was based on the assessed value of the property times $65 per thousand of assessed value. Okay, and that's how it started. And so what happened was through the years, when you had homes were 100,000 or 50 or 60,000, it was much easier, a smaller impact. When they changed because of the types of homes that were coming into the community were much higher. They were in the $200,000 range. So they then in turn changed the assessment to a flat $6,500 per unit, per unit. So that changed, so you wouldn't have to do these crazy calculations, because you'd have to establish what was the tax year, the assessment year, et cetera. So and what's happening is there's really no development happening in town. So the reserve that we have now is being dwindled. Okay, we have nobody coming in, so that reserve that we were using to offset the operational cost. Because what you've been doing over the last 10 years is subsidizing the rate for everybody in the community, and the smaller users, and the multi-users, you've been subsidizing quite a bit. And to the detriment of this community, because that, well,
You've
but,
been here a long time, Jim, I have too.
yeah, you and I both agree on
Exactly,
this.
you and I have agreed on this for 13 years.
Exactly, because what you've done is, by taking it out of and distributing it to the usage, you could have paid for this phosphorus upgrade without taking a dime from the bank, because that's what you would have collected. That being said, it's like, it's gone now. I can't do anything about that. Moving forward, we've got a very small amount, and it's decreasing each year. So, it was presented to the commission to have a minimum charge. You could have called it a service charge, you can call it anything you want, but as Ed indicated, it's a matter of dollars and juggling. Because to meet that demand, and I think it was like $300,000 to $400,000 of assessments we're not using this year, you'd have to make it up in the budget. So, do we impact all of the people? Because we have a fixed cost. I can't stress this enough. Whether you give me no flow at all, we are committed to taking the flow from that tenement apartment. Regardless of whether they got one unit in there or not. The day they turn on and they turn all the faucets on, I have to be ready, Bernie has to be ready to accept that flow. So, in essence, we have a management, you have chemicals, you have power costs that are fixed. And I'm not talking debt service, operating costs that are fixed. It is over 40% of your budget, your operating budget is fixed. You can't do anything about it. So in order to at least compensate for some of that and offset, because somebody's going to subsidize somebody else. It's just who subsidizes. And that's a decision the council has to make. So it's entirely your decision how that subsidy is, or you just put it straight across the board and give everybody that $300,000 share that increase.
I mean, just to be clear, I think this council, we want to see the sewer department funded well. You guys are doing great things down there. I think, just to reiterate, the issue is some people went from a $700 bill to a $3,000 bill. And that's just one example that I got over the phone from someone.
Right.
So I'm warming to the idea of the fixed use, and that I'm getting that. It's starting to make more sense to me. But how can we come up with a plan where these folks can see some relief for this dramatic effect that's happened? And how can we build a plan maybe over the course of 3 years, 5 years, anything, where this can kind of be phased in, where it can make sense and be a little bit more tolerable? So I guess my request is, you guys are the experts, is there any way you can come to us with 1, 2, 3 ideas of how to make this work?
Well, you can always, but now we have a shortfall in the budget.
How do we make it up?
How do we make it up? Do we,
Can you propose to us some ideas too for how we can make it up, whether it's a rate adjustment or something like that?
Yeah, we can, obviously you can come up, you have to come up with the operating budget.
Yeah, we don't want to shortchange I don't want to shortchange the sewer department. I think you guys are doing great stuff down there, but
We can come
this
up,
this just kind of caught some people by surprise, and it caught the council by surprise. I will admit, I didn't know that. I thought the same thing that Council President Goslin thought that we were talking about. And, shame on us for not knowing or picking up on that subtle difference, but.
we just made the assumption that everybody understood it.
Yep.
And we apologize. I mean, it's not an assumption, it's something that is in the ordinance and somebody should have recognized.
Yeah.
But that being said, we certainly can come up with options. or whether it, you know, if it's done with, if it modifies bills for the balance, the other 80% of the people. Or we offset it or whatever. Or we offset it, or we do something next year. But we can, yes, we can. Obviously, it's a numbers game that we have to come up with options. We've presented a number of options in the past.
Yeah, if you come up with several scenarios where we can phase this in, that would be a little less sticker shock.
We
Well,
can-
the thing is, I understand what you guys want to do. I think we all want to do something too, and it's sticker shock. And we didn't expect it to be, to be that much, and the multi-unit thing, didn't expect it.
It's
But
more,
I can't see, I don't know how you're going to, it's the same pot of money. I don't know how you're going to shift the burden from one category without putting it onto another category, which you'll get more phone calls. You're saying, well, 20%, what is it?
I think Bernie said it was 20%.
20%. So what you'll be doing is, the only way you could do it is to shift it to the 80%.
Well,
Agreed.
again, like you just said, and I got the call, I'm the one that brought it to the attention, the first call that I got was the 9 units. When he showed me he had an $1,800 hit, I go, oh my God, that's stupidity. We didn't realize it was our own fault, and I'm on the sewer commission, and I didn't realize it was every unit. But then you got calls when you're talking about it, and people come in and out of the business every day, and they say, well, you know what, we've been subsidizing their bills all these years, they're not paying it, why should we pay when it costs a certain amount, and they both have a complaint?
Well, but that's one thing I want to clarify. We keep saying we subsidize their bills. No, we subsidize what each unit uses for water. Why should somebody be punished
But
for
then,
not
of course,
using water and being conservative?
Listen, they have 30 employees, 22, 24. That's the same pay every week. It costs you $330 to get that pipe into that unit. Now, we can't say, oh, you know what, 5 of you guys ain't getting paid today. Or our health insurance is going up 3%, so we're not paying that. I mean, me of all people, I don't want to see an increase at all. I mean, I don't even have sewers, so this doesn't even affect me one way or the other. But when you're talking and you feel bad for the person with an 8 unit, 9 unit, 10 unit, and then you're talking to a person that's got a single family home, and their sewers go up $150 when it shouldn't, because if everybody was paying their fair share, I mean, you can see we're the 4th lowest in the state where sewers are. I mean, your property values are doubled when you have sewers on your property, so therefore it makes your property double. But again,
We're not only low, but we're exceptionally low.
except, yeah, that's how
We
we should
should
be.
post this on our web, by the way, if we haven't already, so people can see
Yeah.
where we fall in
I'd like to
line
put
with
that
again,
out.
other communities, and we're exceptionally low compared to all the other communities.
I just wanted to clarify, and if the council, I know the council had a lot of concern about it, and personally, I had a brief conversation with Bernie out in the parking lot, and, we have it's kind of tough now, the bills went out, they've already, some people have already paid their bills, that's something the council can look at for next year, for the budget time, and how to readjust and rework it. But I think this year's budget has already been set, it's passed, bills are already out, it's just, hopefully that we can work on something next year that will be a little more palatable for the,
But we can
Multi-unit.
begin that process now.
we got a whole year.
Yeah, exactly, and, go through any options you want, a number of options, because we've created, we've done those before. And just, again, is it the 10 unit, is it fair for the 10 unit to pay a flat fee of, the 4,000 when Penham's got 1 unit and he's paying the same flat fee? There's an inequity.
I use 2,600
Yeah.
of water,
Oh,
but it's just.
No, that's why you just.
Did you look me up?
Yes, we did. So
I try
I'm using
not to
that
waste.
as a real example of, there's an inequity there.
Fairness, yeah.
So, but is it fair, is it fair for the 10 unit to pay a total of 10? you know, I hear that. We're all human and we all have, you know, finances to consider. So we worked on it very carefully to give you the option. So we'll look at it again.
You know, and I don't want to make this issue too complicated in the accounting department, but does anybody want to consider, you know, I mean, there was some apartment units that really got hit, quite a bit of difference. Do you want to consider allowing longer payments with a penalty or anything like that?
I think everything should be on the table. Let's get all the information.
But again,
I would like to see, even if it can't be monetary, I would like to see some relief for the folks for this year. I know we're developing plans for the future, but we gotta figure out some sort of way to help folks out in this current year, because
and just we're going by Kent County's meters. How do we know they're accurate?
Well, that's we've talked about discrepancies that we've seen. Some of the flows just
Don't make any sense.
it doesn't make sense. I mean, unless you're, you know, subscribed to the LA Fitness and do all your gym there and washing and everything else, it's just, the numbers just 10 to 15 gallons a day. You know, I just, it's inconceivable to see, that number seems very low. You know, whether you have wash your dishes, you don't have a washing machine, it's still very low. You know, think about it, 15 gallons, not a lot. If you have a low flush toilet, that's 3 gallons of flush. If you have an old toilet, that's 5 gallons of flush. Do the math. So, we will come back.
thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Consent agenda?
Oh, Bert, go ahead. That's when I said any questions.
All right.
Fort Monahan, Monterey Drive. I've lived in West Warwick for 45 years, and I'm in year 51, 52 when I was patrolling this place as a CD. And to me, I sat here and I watched them make their presentation, what was it, 3 months ago? And I know nobody in the council understood it, nobody in the audience understood it, because if somebody would have understood it, somebody would have raised a red flag. And changing this thing to where each unit, say if you have a duplex, each unit gets charged the minimum charge, where before it was only a single, or we had a 4-unit. That 4-unit was only charged 1 charge. You're still using the same amount of water. And I feel sorry for those people that have 5, 6, and 8, and 9 units. My God, it's ridiculous what they're paying. I think this is the most egregious tax that I have ever seen put on the citizens of West Warwick, especially those, even business owners. I know I have a piece of business property, and my sewer bill jumped from 300, it doubled. I can understand a minimum charge for 1 unit, even if you've got the water coming in and the sewer going out, 1 water in, 1 sewer out, 1 minimum charge for the 2 units, the 4 units, the 5 units, and the 9 and the 10, and keep on going. So if they have 1 pipe going in for water and 1 sewer going out, they have 1 charge, not multiple charges. And is the town of Coventry, Situate, Cranston, Warwick, and West Greenwich, are they in the same boat? Do they have the same minimum charge?
Yes.
And nobody from those communities said anything to anybody?
Not that I am aware of.
Is that right? So this, for all 5 of those communities, they're under the same gun.
They pay more.
They pay a lot more.
They pay a lot more because we host them.
And they all have that minimum charge, and it all went up the same this year. Oh my God.
I don't know if it all went up this year. Yeah, all went up, okay, because, I mean, Cranston is, they're,
No, but that's Cranston's rate. What,
does Cranston come under the minimum charge like we do?
Yes, they do.
The ones that are tied into the West Warwick
Ones that
system.
are tied into the West Warwick system.
And when will they charge the minimum charge?
When the West Warwick residents come, same time. Everybody gets a minimum charge.
It was all their duplexes and 4 units, all have, that is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard in my life.
Let me just ask you a question about this.
And not only that, I got one other thing. Why are they charging, if you use so much water, and I got it here in my bill, and they're charging you for that, and then they charge you the minimum charge, right? The water, and the sewage that you use, right, should be subtracted from that minimum charge.
Correct.
It is, it is, it is.
Because I got a complaint, no, it's not.
All right, Bert, hold on. If you have your own separate bill matter, please take that to Christine and Bernie. But I
I've
did,
already paid it, but I was gonna object to it, and I've got a thing.
well, if there's something wrong with your bill, they'll readjust it for you.
Yeah.
But this isn't the place to
No, I understand that.
dispute your bill.
But this thing, people need help on this. This is too much of a raise, too much of a shot for everybody, believe me.
Bert, the bills I have seen, it shows the minimum usage charge on the bottom of 100, whatever it may be, 200.
Got that one right there.
And then anything over has another line item on top, like it could be $60, could be $150, depending on how much water you use. So I have seen the bills, I've actually sat in people's kitchens to discuss their bills with them. And I got a better understanding of that bill, because my bill, and I know Angela has the same bill I have, it's a well, so we get a flat rate of $5.66, not even knowing how much we use.
I don't get any bill because I don't have any sewage. So
Oh, yeah, you don't
I get nothing.
I get
Thank
some.
God.
Yeah, well, I get the bill. In 2 places. And I don't mind paying them.
They make
Well,
up
they're
in the
fair.
property taxes, so they can lose.
And I knew the property taxes were going up, and I agreed with that. And I agree with the minimum charge for 1 unit, period. I believe in that minimum charge.
Let me just
But not this business.
Let me just
of
fix your statement though. The property tax did not go up. The valuation of your
Right.
property went
You're
up.
right, you're right. Which was all right. But that's the thing that I have checked about. 1 unit, 1 pipe going in, 1 pipe going out, and charge for 1 unit, and charge the minimum charges. I agree with that. But not if you have 4 units in it, you're gonna charge 4 units a minimum charge. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make common sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert.
Thank you, Bert.
Any other questions? Thank you. All set.
Consent agenda, resolve that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters having been referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendations, the same is here.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Move second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Public comment?
Public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 2-minute recess, so Marion gets out.
Aye.